Good morning, everybody. We are going to get started here in just another few seconds. I'm just going to give just a few more seconds for people to get signed in. All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. Today's webinar is on asset management, and our presenter is Geoff Scott. Today's webinar is worth one PDH, but only the person who is signed up for the webinar it will receive the credit. Your chat is disabled, so you cannot ask us any questions through the chat, but we will be sending you information through this. So please open up the chat just to receive the link for the handout. You'll also see a message. If you can't get the handout, you can email Michelle Wright. Her email will be in that chat information. We will be asking you questions through the Zoom polls today. So those will be throughout this webinar. And also, if you have any questions that you want to ask us, please feel free to put those in the Q&A. All right, Geoff, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. So again, as was said, one professional development arrow. I guess we kind of went through this. No sense redoing it again. If you're from another state, again, check with the LTAP Center and see if we can work with you to get some sort of credit with it. All right. Today we're going to talk about asset management. So let's see. When it comes to a local highway department, essentially your biggest asset are your highways. Um, when it comes to percentages of who owns those highways within New York State, so you can see that the towns own 52. You again going to have a little bit less. City's going to have about 11%. The county is going to have 18%, and the state actually owns 13% of the roads. Um, the interesting part about all that is the state gets about 70% of the price, the funding for it. But again, the roads are the main roads. Those are the main feeder roads. They're better condition. They're larger. They carry a lot more weight. But again, the idea around is just to recognize that highway ownership in New York State, most of it is done uh, is owned by the locals. And when it comes to financing those locals, again, just talking about asset management, how do we take care of these things? Because this funding comes out of our local pockets. 89% of the local highway financing comes from the local taxes. And again, there's some state taxes or state funds that you get, and then some federal funds, but they usually comes with larger projects, a little bit more in depth. So you're not just going to get state funds to do maintenance for it because they've got their own responsibilities as well. So majority of the roads that we deal with are funded by local tax dollars. So we need to be conscious of how that money is not only gathered and where it comes from, but how we spend it. So in doing that, we'll start with our topic, asset management. Now, asset management isn't a new concept. Everybody uses some sort of type of management system. Some are good, some are not. But again, if you maintain your roads, you're using some sort of asset management program. Not a program, but a system. Some of the examples that are out there, last year's budget. Instead of kind of taking into what you really need for your repairs and your budgets, you just use last year's number. And sometimes that works, but with the increasing prices that we see all the time, every year, if we keep the same budget, what we can do actually decreases. Now, there's the squeaky wheel, which is where you get a resident that you're just tired of hearing. You just want to shut them up. So you go out and pave that road. You don't necessarily fix it, but you pave it. That's not necessarily the best way to go because a lot of those roads aren't the main roads. They don't feed critical assets and attributes that are out there. A standard program is another technique that's out there, which isn't necessarily a bad one. It's essentially where you establish a program based on periodic maintenance, such as seal coats every 5 years or overlays every 10 years. And again, there's always the worst first. That's one of the worst. Worst first is one of the worst messes you could actually do because you're spending all your funding fixing the worst road in an agent in a town or a community, whatever it might be. What happens when you completely fix a really poor road is you usually end up leaving the rest of the roads to a year without any kind of maintenance to them because repairs are so expensive. So essentially, the worst first takes all your funding, focuses it on a road that may not be as critical. Um, and again, as over time, the conditions of those other roads start to decrease too. And there's also the political pressure. Election time. I remember working down in one of the villages I used to work in downstate. Uh, every week or two before election, you would see the pavers go through. They put an inch of asphalt on the roads. They'd look really good. Unfortunately, the first snowplow would come through, and a month or two later, and peel it right back up and put it all on the sidewalk. It's kind of really a big waste. So again, political pressure just to do something to look good doesn't really get the most effect out of the investment that you're actually putting in there. And then there's the gut feeling. A lot of the highway superintendents have really good knowledge of their roads. There's nothing on paper, but a lot of times the gut feeling is actually a better method than some of the worst first or whatever it might be. So again, there's different practices out there that people use. I guess what we're looking to do is try to get something a little bit more documented. Um, Again, somehow you can actually justify and make these maintenance decisions. Like, where should the maintenance be focused? If you're constantly doing the worst first, you're going to lose that battle pretty quick. Um, if you have funding changes, the battle constantly drops, and there's always the towns that are trying to find better ways of spending the money, and then they usually go for the biggest pockets, which tends to be the highway departments. Um, Again, if you lose that funding, how are you going to manage those roads? How are you going to be able to handle that? And again, having a plan will make a difference with that. What is the most cost-effective of maintenance? Again, looking at how you can do that. And that goes for anything, whether it's roads or signs or whatever it might be. And again, you always want to be trying to spend that funding in the most cost-effective way. And again, you want to try to get the best bang for the buck because essentially you're spending other people's money. So you want to try to do the best that you can. And the big question is, do you actually have a plan? Do you have a maintenance plan for the next 5 years? Do you have an idea of what you want to do, where you want to go, what's it's going to cost? Um, and all that's going to be important as far as getting the best bang for your buck and doing the right thing. So pavement costs, everybody knows that pavements, asphalt goes up and down, the labor goes up and down. Typically it goes up and really doesn't come back down. So again, it's a lot of our roads that we've had over the years, they weren't necessarily designed. The state roads have been designed, and that's why they can handle the loads that they carry in most cases. But the local roads, they're basically just paved roads, start out as horse trails, wagon trails, Model T cars, roads, and then they just pave them because they're tired of the potholes. But there's no real design to them. There's no base. There's no sub base to them. So they don't necessarily have that lifespan that um, we'd like to get. So again, all too often the maintenance is deferred on some of these roads, and over time, if you don't do the maintenance, if you don't, particularly if you don't seal the cracks, that moisture gets through those cracks, softens the base, the top surface of the pavement flexes, and it just shatters and causes potholes, loss of sections. Um, So again, typically the over that time, once you start losing your road base, then the repairs become astronomically expensive. So again, just being able to look at what you're doing the the repairs, fixing them properly. In this center photo right here, they didn't use a tack coat, either that or it was dirty when they put it down. Again, simple practices that are going to give you the best bang for your buck long term is what you're looking for. I guess for pavement service life, for 75% of the time on most pavements, you'll see about a 40% drop in the condition of that. And that time is going to vary. It can be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 25 years. It really depends on how well that road has been designed and developed and the changes in traffic, the weights of the traffic. But again, for the most part, 75% of that time, the pavement light um, is typically in satisfactory condition. But once those cracks start to become a little bit more prominent, you get that moisture in there. Once the moisture gets into that subbase, you're going to start seeing substantial drops in the condition and the life and the strength of that pavement. And that's what we're trying to avoid if we can. We can keep those roads in good shape. We're going to get a lot more bang for the buck and a lot more life out of those roads. Again, for an example here, the pavement section was built 12 years ago. Right now it needs a surface treatment. So that surface treatment is going to cost 20 grand. Again, depending on the length and all the other types of things. But again, sealing that surface and putting a new surface texture on it, you're going to extend the life of that pavement. But if you decide that, hey, we're going to put it off for a little few more years and defer it for 4 years, then you're up to a rehabilitation. So now you've tripled, even um, quadrupled the value of what it's going to cost to bring that road up to a good condition. And that's just putting it off again, just deferring that it's going to cost you long term. And if you wait too long, your estimated cost is going to skyrocket. So again, reconstruction is where you'd really try to like to avoid if you can. So again, the surface treatment, you can get a lot more roads done with just maintaining your roads in good condition. It's like painting your house or something. You're just putting a coat on it and protecting the wood. Maintenance or any kind of maintenance when it comes to equipment is you can pay me now or you pay me later. Again, it's the big thing. It doesn't make sense to save pennies now and putting off needed maintenance, basically deferring those repairs is going to cost you a fortune later on. So again, think about what you're doing. Be conscious of what's going to happen. Time doesn't wait for anyone, and uh, neither does the maintenance. So the basic concept when it comes to pavement management or any kind of management system within your network basically is you set a condition that you want to try to maintain those roads at. A level of service is what they refer to it as. And instead of letting those roads go to failure and getting charged 10 times per unit, whatever that unit might be. uh, if you can do your regular maintenance, preventive maintenance over a long period of time, that $1 per unit is going to be a lot more cost effective. If the roads are going to be a lot better shape, and long term, you're going to have good roads over the longer period of time. So again, the idea behind asset management is basically taking care, doing your regular maintenance, keeping those roads or those pieces of equipment or whatever they might be in good shape. Again, there's all kinds of software out there that you can take a look at. You can jump through hoops. The best practice is just basically keep it simple. You want something where you can actually look at apples to apples, not get too deep into the minutia and lose your way. If it gets too complicated, you're going to lose interest and you're just going to go back to doing something basic. So essentially, you want something that's going to be easy to learn. You want something you can convey to fellow workers and the town board so they understand what you're doing. It's got to be systematic, with good and organized approach. So again, it follows steps. This is what we do next. This is where we're going with this. It needs to be practical. If it doesn't make sense, nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to understand it. It's going to be hard to explain. And again, brings back to understandable and acceptable. If you can get people to understand what you're doing, they're more likely to actually accept it and be on board with helping. And some of the benefits of asset management. Well, essentially, you're getting an efficient use of your limited resources. We all know that the funding that we get from the state and our tax dollars, nobody wants their taxes to go up. And the state's in the same boat. They can't necessarily give unlimited funds to everybody. So essentially, we need to be a little bit more conscious on how we spend those limited resources. So if we can be efficient, that's a good way to start at the very least. With a good asset management plan, you can substantiate your results. It's not unusual for agencies that have a good plan and are able to convey what they want to do and where they stand that the town board will actually work with them and get them additional funds so they can bring those roads up to better shape. Again, so substantiating those results are going to be important. Again, determining the conditions is going to be critical because you got to know where you stand. How can you justify what you need if you don't know what you're needing? And again, having all that, knowing what those conditions are, it's gonna give you more accurate information. Right? With roads, they're going to change every year. Change the weather. This spring should be a real doozy on most of these roads. But again, the roads are going to change. The traffic will change them. But if we're taking a look at them on a regular basis, keeping a good eye on them, we're going to have more accurate information on what is happening, what the repairs could be, where we're going with them. And having all this information, again, it's going to provide better communication. You're going to be able to explain why you want to do this or why you need the additional funding to not only the community, but also to the board. So again, better communication is going to help people understand where you're going, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Again, that comes back to better cooperation. So again, a simple management approach is basically develop your inventory. If you don't know what you have, you're not going to be able to do a maintenance plan for it. Determine existing conditions. Again, knowing what conditions are in. Where should you focus these repairs? So you got to know what the conditions are. Maybe determine what the cause is. Well, not maybe, but definitely determine why are these distresses happening. Is the traffic doubled on these roads? Is the truck traffic increased? Do we need to build a stronger road so it doesn't fall apart again? Um, has water been rerouted? Does now the base of the road substantially softer than it used to be? Was it never correctly built? Again, determining what those causes are going to help you manage those distresses over time. Again, determining what your maintenance options are. There's a ton of different things you could do. And again, what's wrong with the road is basically you want to you want to correct the problems. So those you're going to evaluate what the causes are and try to fix those options using those proper maintenance options. Again, a road that's broken up that has a poor base, if you put asphalt over it, you're just covering the problem up. You're not going to fix it. That road will fall apart in a few years. And then for each of these maintenance options, you want to put together a unit cost. Again, that way you can compare apples to apples. If you've got three roads that need certain types of repairs done, you can see what it's going to cost you by a square footage, a unit cost. So again, developing unit costs for each of these maintenance options is going to help you develop a plan a little bit more effectively. And with all this information, you develop that plan. You know, which roads need to be done, which roads are more important, which ones are critical for the community, and what are their conditions in them. So again, working on what's important and focusing on what needs to be done, you can develop a plan. And then obviously, once you've got that plan, you can interactively select which ones and then start scheduling these projects. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of roads. Most likely, you're going to have a lot of roads that are going to need a lot of that critical maintenance. So you're going to have to decide which ones need to be done in a prioritization method, basically which ones go first. Now, we do have a Cornell Asset Management program. It's a software we've developed. It's CAMP. It's available to anybody, but again, it'll help you do this. It's possible to develop spreadsheets, do it all on paper and hand. But we do have a simple Cornell Asset Management program and the CAMP software that is available. And it's available to all. Once you purchase all our upgrades, all our changes, anything that we do to it, we don't charge for you to get those upgrades. Again, just another option that's out there. This is something we provide. And with everything, garbage in is garbage out. If you don't get good information in, you're not going to get good results out of it. So in pavement management, there's actually two levels of pavement management. Again, we want to focus on the network initially. The network is where you're looking at the whole network. You want to look at every road. You want to compare them equally. You don't want to put numbers next to them. You want to just base not financial numbers. You want to look at conditions and importance to the community. Look at them all equal to each other, and you would be able to start to determine which roads are critical, which ones are not, um, which ones need to be that maintenance needs to be done first. So I was saying again, looking at that network is going to be pretty critical. Once you decide what that network is and you decide which projects you're going to do this year, which ones you're going to do next year, then you start looking at the project level. You take a deeper look at it. Um, Initially you're just looking at pavement, but when you're doing those reconstructions on the roads, you probably want to look at your culverts. Maybe you need to improve your signs. Maybe the guide rails are no good. So again, include that in as part of the project so you can take care of that road and move on to the next one. So again, the network is the overall look, and the project is once you get down into the minutia. So with the network level, basically, you want to define limits. You want to define the road sections that you have out there, particularly if you're dealing with roads. Define them at the limits that are manageable. And you might have a 5 mile road. It might be pretty much impossible to try to pave that whole road in one time. So maybe break it into sections, maybe defined by how often it's used or the traffic volumes, or maybe it's 3 lane roads or a 4 lane road or something. Again, defining limits based on characteristics that are pretty visible. And it may be just distances as well. You want to develop that network inventory. Roads that are longer than you can, break them into three different multiple sections. Develop that inventory. And then you want to survey the stresses on each of those individual road sections. Develop maintenance strategies that's going to take care of the problems that you see across your network. Um, Determine what your funding needs are. Then interactively, again, select what those and analyze those projects. And once you've done a lot of that, um, determine those projects, made some of those projects completed, uh, implement a feedback system, figure out what works, what didn't work, how long did it last. Maybe there's some practices out there that you didn't foresee that aren't going to work in your area. Or maybe the residents don't like chip seals. Again, develop a feedback system and start to work to improve your system overall.
Jeff,
Again, the idea is yes.
I apologize for interrupting. We do have a question about have there been any recent updates to the camp software since 2023?
Not since 2023, no, because we've been kind of short on staff and stuff, so we have not made any upgrades to the camp software. All right, that all there is? You see?
Yep,
Hello?
you are good. Thanks.
All right. And as I mentioned, project levels, that's when you start to get right down into the minutiae. You determine what roads you want to do. So you want to identify what those causes of those individual distresses are. Determine what the maintenance, the repair, the reconstruction correction is for each of those distresses. Because you want to fix the problem. You don't want to have to patch them and come back again next year, 2 years or 5 years. So again, selecting the most cost-effective practice is going to be their best bet. Again, analyze the design and the project requirements, write contracts and specifications, and then have the projects done. So again, two different levels. The network level looks at the whole thing, but the project level looks at the specific projects you're doing that year so you can fix those things. So essentially, what assets should you be looking at? Well, the roads and streets are obviously probably the biggest asset that most agencies have, towns, counties. The most expensive, the most investment has been done in. But other ones too that can impact that are the culverts. If you've got culverts that are failing, that could impact your roads pretty substantially. Signs are another aspect, an asset you need to keep an eye on. Poor signage can actually end up in lawsuits and end up causing um, substantial costs to the municipality. Guide rails, again, something you might not be thinking, but if your guide rails are not maintained or they're too low, you've paved for years and now when you go off the road, you hit it with your axle instead of your bumper or whatever it might be. Again, those guide rails, the lawyers just love things to pick apart. And then, of course, there's your equipment, and that's going to be more critical, specific to internal. But having that equipment in good shape and available when you need it, there's nothing worse than having a snowplow go down on a big snowy day. So again, some of the inventory as far as roads and streets, we'll come back to this. A lot of this is available in the local highway inventory. New York State provides that. Again, so a lot of this information is already readily available. But again, some of the things you might want to keep track of are basically a name, specific identification number, the length of those road sections, the start points, the end points, so you can identify them, and then the width. From that length and width, you're going to get a surface area. That's going to help you calculate how much maintenance is actually going to be set on based on unit prices. Again, an overall one in them initially. Number of lanes might be useful. Again, it's going to help tell you how important that road is. The surface material, is it a gravel road? Is it chip seal? Is it asphalt? Is it something experimental? Again, knowing what that surface material is going to help you determine, what you can do as far as repairs go and how much work it's going to take. Identifying what the shoulders are. Are they just gravel shoulders? Can you back them up and roll dirt in there, or do you have curbs? If you have curbs, the odds are you're going to have to mill that road out. Otherwise, you're going to lose that curb feel. And again, some of the more important things are like the traffic volume and the type of traffic. Those are going to dictate which roads are probably priority within your community. And again, the importance of the road. Where does that road go to? Does it go to a hospital? Does it go to a school? Does it go to this main center of town? Those are going to be important roads for the community. Those ones that people are going to use on a regular basis. So again, just looking at them a little bit more differently. They mentioned New York State does put together the local road listings. Of course, this right here, you probably need a magnifying glass to look at. But if you can tell, you can blow it up and you can take a look at it. Every town has it. It's identified by townies. And then you go right into the town. It'll go through all the different roads. As you can see right here on the bottom, you've got the Baylor Road. It's got multiple sections to it. So they've been broken down. It tells you where they start, where they end, how many lanes there are, the pavement width, a lot of information that's going to be useful when you're developing an asset management plan for those roadways themselves.
Jeff, we
Yes.
have another question that came in. How are bridges classified in asset management? Local entities as well as states do own bridges.
I guess I don't really know what you're talking about as far as classifying. Um, Most bridges are owned either by counties or states in New York State. And again, some towns, I know there's several around here that own their own bridges. But what do you mean as far as classification?
Uh, as soon as that clarification comes in, I can let you know.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a little more information. Well, look, again, your condition assessment, when you're looking at these roads, you want to take a look at what those roads are doing. Um, and what factors are actually causing these conditions to deteriorate. Um, it could be a variety of different things. It could be the technique of putting the asphalt down. It could be the subbase. It could be the climate. It could be your soil. It could be a ton of things that are there. But individual cracking will identify some of those um, different conditions that are showing up. Again, when the condition comes, when you're doing your condition assessment, you want to see what that current condition is. How bad are the cracks? How big are they? How frequent are they? Are there potholes? Are there low spots? Again, try to identify some specific problems. Is it poor asphalt? Is it frost? And a lot of problems are going to be out there. A lot of these, if you can identify what the problems are, it's going to help determine what those repairs actually are going to be.
Jeff, the person did come back. They said they're not listed as assets in the previous slide, are they? It said culverts were listed.
Well, if you own bridges, they're definitely an asset. They're an expensive one, so definitely you would want to maintain that. I do believe the state goes through and evaluates bridges on a pretty regular basis, and will flag them if they're in poor condition. But again, planning ahead, if you own those bridges, you're going to need to plan ahead to do some sort of maintenance with them. What was the question was, did I even get to the response for that?
I just dismissed it. So of course I don't know exactly what it was, but what I can do is I can send them our email if they want to have a further in-depth answer.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We can help them out if they have more
Okay.
in-depth questions.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. So again, as far as assessment resources, how do you look at your place, your roadways? The federal highway actually puts out a distress identification manual, which is pretty useful. They used to put out the paper ones, but now it's on digital. It's actually part of the handout. There's a link there for that. But again, it goes through, it discusses what the causes are, some of the repairs, what you're looking for, helps you identify how to fix those distresses. Again, you want that long-term pavement performance is what it's looking for. Um, we've also got our pavement maintenance workshop, and that goes into some of the distresses and some of the maintenance practices on repairing some of those roads and how to get the best bang for your buck as far as fixing some of the problems. The manual or workshop manual is available. The classes being held, by all means, it's a good one to take. You learned a lot. Again, developing repair costs is going to be one of those important steps that you're going to need to do, and they're going to change on a regular basis. Again, you don't want to get carried away. You don't have to change them every month, but um, the heck of it is they probably could be updated every month. But you just want to do them for every year and basically get an idea of what your repairs are going to cost this year, using basically those repair costs. But again, it's an important step. It's going to help you determine what repairs you want to do and where that funding, the available funding, is going to be spent. And you want to focus on the general overall repair. Once you get into a project level, you're going to start looking at the details. You're going to find a lot more. There's always something. But again, you'd look at the overall general repair. Again, you want to keep it simple. It's going to try to develop a plan, try to focus on which roads are more critical for you. And then, of course, with those costs, as I mentioned yesterday, or yeah, yesterday, a little while ago, was basically you're going to have to update them annually because those costs will change. Cost of asphalt is all over the place. Where you are in the state is all over the place as well. So again, one of those critical things is updating costs annually, labor costs, vehicle maintenance costs, all that stuff's going to be rolled into it. And of course, another picture that's a little bit hard to see, but as far as how do you develop some of these projects costs, um, David's developed a spreadsheet that basically helps you go through it. It'll help you itemize your labor. You can put down names, wages per hour. It'll develop how many quantity, how much it's going to cost per day, and it'll tally it up on what it's going to cost per day in a 10-hour day. Equipment as well. If you've got to lease equipment or you've got to put any kind of charge in for your equipment as well, you could put that in there because there's going to be a cost to that piece of equipment, whether you own it or not. You're still putting wear and tear on it. Again, closer up, a little up close again, the materials, you can itemize what those materials are going to be. You know, is it asphalt? How much per unit? Is it culvert pipes? You have to put those in there. How many are you going to need? How many can you put in a day? And you can develop these costs right here in a spreadsheet. If there's any invoices, if you're renting equipment, if you're renting a backhoe, yours quit or whatever it might be. Um, again, you can put them in there and it'll tally it all up, and it'll give you results on these on this final page. It'll give you a summary of the cost, the invoices, the labor, give you a total expected cost, project materials. Um, again, it's a pretty versatile worksheet. And David has developed that as well, and that's available as well if anybody's curious, just to even just play around with it. In developing the plan, again, when it comes to roads, you want to do based on what the needs of the roads are. Covering up stuff just doesn't fix the roads. You want to use a simple prioritization method if you can. And focus on keeping good roads good. Again, you're going to get the best bang for your buck if you can keep those roads in good shape over a long period of time. Keep them in good shape, then you won't have to fix them as often. And as you're using them as well, they're going to be in better condition. Again, what you want to do is try to extend the life. It's like changing oil in your vehicles. It keeps them going longer. So doing minor maintenance is going to be a lot more cost effective. Sealing the roads or putting an over a thin overlay or something on one of your roads. You're going to seal it. You're going to keep the moisture out of it. You're going to extend the life of those roads and the condition. So again, the idea is to try to extend the life of what you've already made investments in. Because then it comes to prioritization. There's always going to be some need to prioritize. Again, it doesn't necessarily use cost comparisons. If you start putting costs into there, money will chase you off for sure. Um, but just basically, if you can do cost comparisons based on needs or community needs, or the needs of the facility or the roads might be. Um, Again, doesn't include a simple process, doesn't include the future deterioration. That's going to happen. That's the nature of asphalt and any kind of piece of equipment. And then you want something that's going to be easy to modify. And again, back to our software, basically, we have a built-in priority formula for all roads and street sections. The Ks are basically weighting factors. In some situations, you may want to put a little bit more emphasis on certain characteristics that are out there. So with the built-in in our software, the built-in equation is as it is right there. You've got the S is the repair strategy. You know, what level of repair is it going to need? I is the importance of that road. T is traffic, the type of traffic, the volume of traffic. Then the condition, again, what's the condition of that road. And then, of course, drainage and roughness. Those are all going to impact how well um, the road is, how well it's going to last and how its use is actually going to be. When it comes to repair strategies, again, what you want to do is preventive maintenance. You want to keep those roads in good shape. Routine maintenance, you want to cut the brush back. You want to make sure your signs are visible. A tree growing over a sign before a stop or an intersection is going to cause a large lawsuit. Cutting that brush back is going to save you a lot of money long term and possibly lives. Corrective maintenance. If you've got a road where there's just basically one little pothole showing up, but overall the road is in good shape, maybe just take the effort and properly correct that one section of road to make sure that that road is in good shape overall. And then there's, of course, defer work. Can be done on good roads, but it also can be done on really, really poor roads you can't afford to fix. Again, putting it off isn't necessarily going to hurt it anymore. Then you get the rehabilitations where you might do the mill and fill or a basic reclamation where you don't get really carried away. And you're rehabilitating the surface of the road. Once you get to reconstruction, that's where you got to redo all the base. You got to redo all the substructure, drainage, infrastructure. Again, all that other stuff. That's where you really get into the large expenses. So again, if we can keep away from that portion of our maintenance level, um, do the preventive maintenance, routine maintenance, we're going to get a lot more out of it. Where that falls on that condition, payment condition or the asset condition, you can see the routine maintenance is you can do that all the time. Regular maintenance, whether it's good or very good, and changing the oil in a vehicle is going to make that vehicle last substantially longer. Preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance, again, keeping those roads in good shape, keeping that piece of equipment in good shape is going to be critical. And once you get into the rehabilitation, when the condition starts to draw into forward, rehabilitation or reconstruction, um, and that's when the conditions are basically get substantially less. And it's the costs go hand in hand with those levels of maintenance as well. Good and fair roads usually cost 1x the cost of a repair. And once you get the poor to the very poor, you can amplify those costs by 10 at the minimum. Any more with the cost of everything going up, maybe even more. Again, what we strive to get people to think about is do the right treatment at the right place at the right time. Again, let the distress tell you what's happening. If you've got alligator cracking, then you've probably got some sort of weakness in your subbase. It's causing that pavement to move. It's causing that surface to crack. Um, Again, different types of distresses will tell you what the distress could be. And you want to fix the disease, not just cover it up and give it a new surface. And because that will come back, you're not really saving anything, you're just covering it. Other assets that we have, again, the roads are probably the largest investment most agencies have. But again, hand in hand with them are the culverts. Again, knowing what your culverts are, what are the conditions of those culverts? Um, they're not necessarily the cheapest asset that are out there as well, but again, another critical asset. If they go culvert goes out or a bridge goes out, um, you're going to have delays, you're going to have problems. So again, as far as a culvert inventory, it's our camp software I mentioned earlier with our pavement management on it, we have added a culvert section to it. So essentially, you can keep your culvert inventory as well. Again, as part of that, it's going to identify what the road is. Each culvert's going to have a specific ID. There's going to be a location for it. If it's out of perpendicular to the road, again, to identify what that CU is going to be. Depth of cover. That could have a lot to do with how how often you want to change that culvert or if you want to change that. If you've got a culvert that's 10, 11, 12 feet deep, that's a large cut. That's a major project. But if it's only 12, 18 inches deep, that's a little bit different. That's something that can be done in a day. Again, number of pipes for each of those crossings. What is the length of those pipes? It's going to help determine what the replacement would be. As far as that pipes go, what are the widths? Maybe their height. Uh, Not all pipes are round, so the width of the width of the opening and the height of the opening may be different. Again, that's going to go hand in hand with shape and then the material. A lot of metal pipes in New York State tend to, once the coating gets knocked off of them, they tend to rust. So again, knowing what the material is, just be aware that there may be a time that it's going to have to be replaced, and then having an install date. And if you had the opportunity, just a simple diagram on how that culvert is laid out underneath that roadway, if you end up with overgrown weeds and you can find one end, you have a pretty good idea where that other thing went. It's not directly across the road, but it may be at an angle. So again, different things that are going to be critical to look at. In the typical culvert inspection form, again, we've got these as well. Again, pretty straightforward. Again, municipality, the date of inspection, weather, um, where it is, mile point, the inventory, the stream name if there is a stream, shape of the pipe, material, and then any kind of issues that you might have seen while you're doing those inspections. And the culvert may not need to be replaced right away, but it may be something that moves higher onto the priority list over time. So again, just having that inventory and those inspections are going to give you long-term um, knowledge of what really needs to be done in the future. Again, this culvert inspection form is available as well. And some of the things you might want to look at when you're looking at a culvert, the type of distresses or the damages. Um, Again, the shape of it, is the shape changed? Is the cover on the pipe not enough in the weight of the traffic causing it to deform? Is there scour at the ends? What is the condition of the pipe? Is it starting to rust? The embankments, are they eroding? The ends, are they crushed? The joints, are they separating? Is there debris collecting in them? All these things you want to assess because that's going to impact the effective ability. It's going to impact the ability of those culverts to perform. And with our software, we've got a culvert priority um, formula in there to help determine which ones are which. Again, the repair category, the importance in the traffic, again, that's related to the road, the condition of the pipe, the type of flow. Is it seasonal flow? Is it heavy flows? You get a lot of storms. And then there's another factor in there as far as aquatic organic passage. Um, Again, this one can be negated if it's not a critical thing, but in some parts of the state, aquatic organism passage has become a critical aspect of it, so we've included it. Signs are another critical. If you can't convey the message to the traveling public, somebody's going to be held liable. Having a new sign, the sign here to the left that you see right there, that's it says New York State Highway. That's probably 100 years old. Probably not an effective sign that you want out there. It's not standardized. It doesn't have the retroreflectivity. But again, signs are a traffic control device, basically. It informs the user what's coming up. If there's a curve coming up, it might be useful to know that it's coming up. If there's driveways ahead, if there's um, any kind of issues that might be there that somebody that's not used to the area is not familiar with. Again, identifying where those signs are. It's not unusual to have signs disappear. Um, if you've got certain signs that disappear, that could become a real liability. If you've got yield signs or stop ahead signs that disappear, that's if someone gets killed, that becomes a real liability for the agency. So again, if you've got an inspection form that tells you that, yes, we saw that last month and it was there. Now we're doing our due diligence. We don't know where it went. Yes, we're sorry it happened, but that will help you in the court of law. So again, just having some sort of sign traffic control inspection, whether the sign, take a look at the signpost and different aspects of each of those. As far as the sign inventory, again, pretty much straightforward with all of them. Where the road, municipal idea, what type of sign is it? Whether it's a street sign or a warning sign or just an informational sign. What type it is, give it an MUTCD ID, maybe a brief description, size and dimensions. And this stuff will help you if you've got to replace that sign, it's not there. You'll have this information there. You'll know it's supposed to be there. Again, the different materials that are out there, that's going to tell you how long some of these signs are going to last. Again, locations, the side of the road, where is it facing? A northern facing sign is going to last substantially longer than a southern facing sign just because the sun affects them. And of course, an installation date. Then the supplemental signs as well. You want to be able to look at those secondary signs on those posts. And each one has an METC ID, maybe a municipal ID. You want the size and the dimensions and all the same aspects that you've had. So if you have to replace them, you know what's there. Again, signposts as posts as well. It's got some sort of sign ID, sport ID, a number of posts. Windy areas, you're going to have multiple posts because they don't necessarily hold up as well. A single post will blow down. The post type, maybe the size, the material, the base type. Again, the installation date, all this stuff, it should be in the inventory, so it's there. A lot of this stuff will help you if you end up in some sort of legal situation as well. And all that information is going to support you. And then there's inspection techniques that are out there as well. There's multiple different practices you can do. You can go out and do daytime visibility, identifying signs that are questionable, and then go back and check them either more in depth. At night in particular is when they need to be seen. You can go out there with a retro reflector, reflective gun thing and put it right on the sign. You can get retro reflective readings. You can test the legend, background, assess the sign condition, the support posts. Then the sign may be full of bullet holes or it may be worn out. The post might have been hit by a car and somebody drove off, so it may be twisted and facing the wrong direction. Again, doing these inspections is going to keep those in proper condition and protect you as far as liability goes. And when it comes to retroreflectivity, which is basically how well they can be seen at night, you see the sign to the left right here. That sign will not be seen at night. There's no way a car lights are going to reflect back at you. And there's specific ways you can evaluate those. And MUTCD has a bunch of different ones. You can do calibration signs, which basically you clip to. Comparison sign procedures. There's consistent parameters procedures. You can go out there and directly measure that sign retroreflectivity. You could purchase a retroreflectometer for they're probably upwards of $15,000. Not many people have them. Then again, it's time consuming. So doing a visual inspection on them is going to be your first step. If it looks like it's not in good condition, then maybe go back and check it at night. In other places, they have management methods. They determine what the expected sign life is going to be, and then they replace them every 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, whatever that life is expected. In other cases, they do blanket replacements. Okay, everything on the east side of town gets replaced. Everything on the north side of town gets replaced at this date. Everything on the west side. just do a blanket replacement. And again, keeping those signs visible is going to, again, protect you. There is control signs. I think there's only one agency that I'm aware of that actually does control signs. Um, and basically what they have are each sign faces every direction and they monitor them. And every time they put up every year they put up new signs. They put up signs to correlate with those signs that are just put up. So you can get a yard full of signs. It's a big task. But again, there's other methods that you can actually go out there and do. But again, keeping a record of what you're doing, looking at them, doing inspection on them, is going to protect you. You know, they may not even be there. If those signs have been stolen, I remember as kids, I don't know how many cars I used to see with signs as floorboards. Again, that comes out of the public safety aspect of it. Again, there's prioritization too. You want the key warning signs that are going to be critical. If those signs aren't there, somebody can, and God forbid, will get killed. Again, the stop signs, the yield signs, the yield ahead, those ahead signs for them, any kind of intersection warning signs, pedestrians, bicyclists, school crossings, do not pass. All of these signs are critical. If you don't see them and you go in front of those vehicles or you hit somebody, it's going to cause a major problem. So again, the priority signs, key signs are usually the key signs are usually the ones that be focused on first, and then the other ones can follow through. There's going to be other warning signs like the tractor sign or um, other regulatory signs, street signs, guide signs. They're not as critical, but again, you were going to want to replace them. You put them up for a reason. So again, have some sort of inspection and document what you do. Make sure you documented that you saw that sign on August 4th. It was there. If it's not there, August 15th, you know that you did your due diligence and that's going to help you long term. And guide rail is another one. And you don't necessarily think of this, but it is another aspect of the roadway system. It's not unusual for a lot of these roads to be paved and then paved and then paved 3 inches. And next thing you know, that pavement is 8, 9 inches higher than the guide rail was when it was put in. Again, it is guide rail in New York. It's come down to legal aspects of it. But again, if you can identify where that rail is, maybe a municipal ID, the type of the rail, where the locations it is, length of it, side of the road it's on, what the rail ends are, maybe the installation date. Uh, all that's going to be critical to know what it is. Again, the conditions, post conditions, the rail ends. This cable right here, that slack in that cable is not going to do anything to prevent anybody from going into that ditch. So again, proper installation is going to be critical. Proper maintenance. The vegetation above it, maybe the height above the pavement, as I mentioned. This picture right here, we saw this guide rail here. Now, when I was out taking this picture, I thought, well, let's go take a closer look. That's what it looked like on the back side. If you don't do those inspections, long term, it could cost you. If somebody had hit this, anticipating maybe they would have that somewhat support coming off that guide rail, that would have been another legal issue. So again, just be aware, do inspections on these things. Just be aware what you have. If you can, or you should, if you're looking at them, document that you looked at them, when you looked at them, what they looked like. Pictures tell 1,000 words. All right, where am I doing for time? All right. So again, the equipment and fleet inventory as well. Again, you want to know what you have. Most cases you do. What the type they are, again, document all that. When did you purchase it? What's the replacement cost? What kind of life expectancy? That repair history for each piece of equipment is going to be critical. There's going to be a point of diminishing returns where repairing that piece of equipment makes no sense. It's time to move on. I know I've had trucks that way. I constantly fix them. I just get tired of it. Move on. Now I have a new truck. But again, the repair history is going to tell a lot about what you're doing. Again, what kind of investment in that piece of equipment is. And again, we have some of that paperwork that's available through us. Again, all these are part of the links on our handout, but again, if you need them, let us know in the office. Again, it goes through the quantity, description, the year manufactured, purchase price, the condition. Again, it keeps a running cost on what you have, and if there's any diminishing as far as values, it's going to help identify that you start to need to think about doing some investment in some of those pieces of equipment. And you may have a piece of equipment you've only used once every 2 years. Maybe it's cheaper to rent something like that, or work with your adjacent town or county and work together. Again, just taking a look at what you have and identifying what you had, try to minimize your issues. And a lot of these are available. We can provide them to you. Again, when it comes to fleets, again, doing an annual inspection of the vehicles, again, with our local cars, with our personal cars, the state does an inspection on it to make sure they're safe. Um, But there are other things as well. Daily driver inspection. I worked for a while for UPS. Every time you got into that truck, you made sure you walked around and kept a log of what was there. If there was a broken light or a window was broken or a light bulb didn't work, you needed to document to it because when you got back, if it didn't, when you didn't document, you were responsible for it. So just that daily driver inspection that made you aware of what needed to be done. If there was anything major, you let the mechanics know and they took care of it. Again, that daily inspection will protect you as well. There's also equipment inspections. Again, just going through and making sure that they're in good shape. There's no oil leaks, maybe hoses aren't cracked. All these things that are going to affect your day's production. Again, we have all these forms as well. So again, a simple network process, basically, whether it's for your equipment or your roadway, you need to know what you have. You need to have that inventory. Once you have that inventory, you need to know what everything is. What condition are they in? Are they falling apart? Are they in good shape? Again, it's going to give you time. You're going to be able to plan a little bit better. Develop your maintenance and your rehabilitation alternatives. Which ones do you do? Which ones are most cost effective in your area? And then just kind of start assigning them. Assign those repairs, the alternatives to get the best results from those repairs. Then you prioritize that maintenance, and then from once that's complete, you can generate reports, you can develop budgets, and then you want to update any kind of improvements you've made. So basically, those improvements don't necessarily come back. Again, implementation. Again, it's going to help if you can implement any kind of asset management plan, whether it's with the roads or your equipment, whatever it is, you're going to be able to communicate better with the board. They're going to have a better understanding. They're going to realize that you're looking at what you're dealing with. It's going to be easier to discuss your issues with the board. Scheduling work is going to help. Uh, Keeping that maintenance schedule up, whether it's a building or a piece of equipment or even roadways. Again, scheduling that work, trying to prevent that from getting in worse condition. Again, needing to update. Once you've done that work, update your scheduling. Keep those other ones coming forward that need that work. So again, there's benefits that come along with it. Um, again, asset management plan benefit, essentially you end up with an efficient use of the limited resources you have because you know where it can be spent, where it can be most efficient, where you can get the best bang for your buck. You can substantiate your results. This is why we did this. And now look at the road. It's lasting for years. Um, Again, if you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, you can substantiate what you want to do. You can determine conditions by going out there and doing your annual inspections or whatever the inspection frequency is. Um, you can determine what the conditions are, not only currently, but what they may be in the future. And again, plan accordingly. If you know what all this information is, it's going to be easier to communicate. Easier to communicate and better to communicate with the community and the public on why certain things are being spent. Nobody likes bad roads, so this is why we need the funding. Again, it gives you more accurate information too. And you can talk with confidence that this is what the problem is, this is where we are, this is what we have. And with having all that information, knowing what you're talking about, it's going to improve your cooperation amongst not only the townspeople, but the town board. So again, having information, having that documentation, ideally, it'll go past from uh, offices to offices. It'll go from election to election. You won't lose that kind of stuff. And that becomes town information. It helps over time. You can look at where things have been improved and where you were and where you're going. Oh, yeah, that kind of sums it up where we are here. Guess Jody, we're going to be heading into questions right now. If you want to, oops, wrong direction.
All
Yeah,
right, Jeff. So let me the first question up. So the first question is, network level management systems focus on the details of a specific project to develop a final plan. True or false? And we are getting,
in the keywords there are network level and project.
all right, so it looks like I'm just going to end it right here. About 74% are saying false.
That is correct.
All right, so let's go to question number two. Question number two is a simple asset management process does not include easy to learn method, a systematic, good, and organized approach, practical method, be understandable and accepted, predict future conditions. And we are having several people. About 86% are saying predict future conditions.
And that is correct, yes, because a simple process doesn't do predictions.
And then let's go back. Okay, question number three. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry. Helps if I do it the right way. Stop sharing. There we go. Launch. Management focuses on keeping good roads good. True or false? Ooh, 100%, very quickly.
Yeah, it's
Said
pretty
true.
straightforward.
That was a fast one. All
That
right,
is
let's do
correct.
that. And last question. A good a good inventory is essential for an asset management program. True or false? And again, we are coming back with very quick answers of 100% true.
And that is correct again. Excellent.
Perfect. I love it. People know their stuff. All right.
Oh, let's see. Let me go back on that last one. And there are other alternatives that you can do. AASHTO puts out a transportation management guide. Again, a lot of their information is a little bit more in depth. Again, they're dealing with larger assets, larger roadways, um, larger systems. Again, we kind of focus at the local level here, so but there are other options that are out there. Again, if you have any questions or any help, well, again, feel free to reach out to us. We do have our camp software program. We've got pavement maintenance in it, and we also have culverts and bridges in there as far as an asset to evaluate and do documentations for. Again, that's available. If you're interested in trying to get some help as far as developing a roadway pavement maintenance, we do a summer intern program in the spring. Again, look at our website. We've got information there as well. Um, so again, we're here to help. Do what we can. What did I do here? I think I just blew the whole thing out.
It's
Yeah.
okay. All right. So we are about 4 minutes after 10. Jeff, are you all set?
If there are no more questions, yeah.
Nope, I think we are good to go. So everybody have a great rest of your day. And just remember, we don't have any more webinars until the first of the year. Have a great day, guys. Nice job, Jeff.
All right, thanks. All
All
right,
right.
bye.
Bye.